Hello and welcome back to Sharks Happen. Today we have a show. We're going to go over a couple of bodyboarder attacks. We're going to go over a couple spear fisherman attacks. We're going to end the show with, it's sort of an occupational hazard attack again. And in the meantime, I'm going to do this new thing. It's going to be the good, the bad, and the ugly, at least for this episode. And I'll explain it when we get to it in the show, which ones are which. And I hope you stick with us. Okay, now we're going to start out the show today over at Coogee Bay, and that is over in Australia, New South Wales, Australia, and the date is December 26th of 1966. David Jensen, he is 29 years old, and he and a friend are out doing some spearfishing. It doesn't say the time of day, the distance from shore. It says he's in 12-foot deep water, and he's in this water, and a shark comes up and bites onto his right leg. Now, he's trying to get his leg out of the shark. His spearfishing buddy grabs the shark around the midsection, and he's trying to pull the shark off of his leg. And he ends up having to take and use a spear that had the explosive on the tip. It was a hand spear that had an explosive tip, and he hit the shark and then ended up killing the shark. And he has to go in and get his leg taken care of. It turned out to be a 6-foot sand tiger shark, they claimed. So he was bit in the leg by a 6-foot sand tiger shark, luckily armed with his spear with the explosive head, and he was able to get the shark off there. But you know, those sand tigers, gray nurses, they can be pretty stubborn. So it sounds like that was what it was. I don't think it was trying to eat him or anything like that. Might have been after a fish, but they don't mention that there's fish in the area. But you know, if they had caught a fish earlier and have it on a float, or even if they had shot a fish and wounded it and it got away and it just has, you know, the telltale signs as far as pressure movements of being injured, that could draw on a shark. So an attack, not an attempt to predate on David Jensen, luckily, and just a wound to his leg. Didn't hear of any damage to his tendons or to his nerves, so it sounds like that he pretty much could recover pretty easily. He didn't mention a shaking, so hopefully it was just holes and pressure mostly. Okay, now we head over to Campbell's Beach, and that is over in New South Wales, Australia. The date, November 30th of 2013. Zach Young, he is 19 years old. He is with 3 friends, Shaden, Kurt, and Lindsay. And they're in the water. It's 2 o'clock. They're about just over 300 feet from shore, about 100 meters from shore. And it doesn't say the depth of the water that they're in, and they're sitting waiting on waves. Now, Lindsay is with Zach, and the other 2 aren't very close to them, and Lindsay says that the shark just came up from behind Zach and lifted itself out of the water and attacked them. The shark's got Zach, and the friends grabbed the shark. Again, they're trying to fight the shark off, just like in the other stories that we've gone over, where just the last story. So they're grabbing the shark, they're trying to beat it off, they're trying to get the shark to let go. Finally it lets go, and they get Zach and they bring him in. It ended up severing both of his legs. He lost a ton of blood. They tried to stem the blood flow on the beach, but it was already too late. They said that this was probably a 6 to 8 foot, or I'm sorry, an 8 to 10 foot tiger shark that got a hold of Zach's legs, and it sounds like it severed them both. And that's how he passed away. So this, you know, would go down as an attack. Again, not an attempt to. This one's tough. This shark might have been out to eat him. The way that it didn't stop when they were trying to beat it off of him and fight it off, and then he bit off the legs. We'll see. I think I might put this one down as an attempt to predate. This was one of the tougher ones to decide, but it's probably an attempt, seeing as they were, and it's a tiger shark. And usually, if you push, you know, you give a tiger shark a tough time, it'll go away. And in Vladimir Popov's case, they also had the boat go out there and try to get the remains, and that shark wouldn't let it go. So we're going to go with that it's an attempt to predate by this 8 to 10 foot tiger shark on Zach Young, and we'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Refugio State Beach. That is in California. The date, September 1st of 2016. Tyler McQuillen, he is 22 years old. He and a friend Brent, They are out at the beach and they are out doing some spearfishing. The two at about 8:45 in the morning, they've been in the water about 15 minutes and they're located about 150 yards from shore and 50 yards off of a point. So there's a point that probably forms a natural jetty out there, and they're 50 yards from that, but they're 150 yards from the beach. They're in 10 feet deep water, and they're both laying on the surface, it sounds like, because Tyler's laying on the surface, swimming along the surface, and he looks down and he sees a bat ray. And this bat ray acted funny. It bounced itself from laying on the floor where it was and took off. And he said that, that wasn't a natural behavior that he had noticed before. He says not long after that he felt just like a tug on his swim fin. And he didn't think nothing of it. He thought it was Brent, so he didn't even turn around. And then he felt pressure that jolted him back a little bit, which knocked both his GoPro that's on his spear, knocks that out of his hands, dragging him backwards a little bit, and it ripped his swim fin and his footy off of his foot. And it was an 8 to 10 foot great white that he had behind him. And as soon as he was dragged back, he swam forward and got to his gun. By the time he turned around, the shark had already made it back and bumped into him. Didn't bite him, but bumped him. It says that it came and collided with him, and then it went off again, and it came back a third time. The third time it comes at him, he's able to go ahead and hit it in the side with the spear, and the shark turns, veers, and goes away. He swims backwards, making sure he's able to keep an eye on the shark if it comes back, swims backward all the way into the beach. He drives himself to go get help. He only ended up with two busted toes from the shark. So the shark actually bit into his toes with that test bite, 8 to 10 footer, and then tugged him back, ripping off his foot, his footy and his swim fin, both gone. So he ends up driving himself in, he gets that repaired, and he survives the attack. So it's an attack, not an attempt to predate, by an 8 to 10 foot great white shark. And now we're going to get into a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the good, marine ecologist Colin Stimfort, he said that there's no simple solution to preventing attacks, that going ahead and killing off sharks is not going to stop attacks, it's not going to make it safer at the beaches. I agree with him. So this marine ecologist Colin Simpfendorfer, he has some quality remarks on this attack here. And also University of Sydney shark attack policy researcher Christopher Neff said the government would never be able to stop attacks, and that's true. I mean, that's just common sense. So not everybody out there is just saying, oh, well, there's nothing we can do. People know that some of the things that are said they can do, it's not gonna fix the problem. I don't think that you're going to lessen attacks. There's too many people going in the water, and I don't think that the number of sharks that you go ahead and kill off is going to be the answer. It's got to be a couple of different things, and maybe like wiring off these beaches with those nets so that surfers are also inside of them. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe they got to try to figure something out. You're still going to be ending up killing sharks and other sea creatures that way, but you're saving lives too. So it's proven that they are effective where they're used. They're not 100%, but they sure cut down on them, especially getting very large sharks inside those nets. So the problem with this one, this is the bad. And the ugly we're going to get into later, because that's going to be a picture of an upcoming attack we're going to go over. This attack, by the way, on Tyler McQuillen, before we get into the bad, this is on his GoPro and it's on the internet. You can put in Tyler McQuillen shark attack and you can watch the video of him fending that shark off when it comes back at him, because he's got the GoPro on the spear. And let me tell you something, those spears aren't the easiest thing to try to keep aimed at a shark. They're pretty big and they're in the water, and water is resistant. It's not like air. It's not like you could just turn. So that's one of the things that worry me about being out there with the spear. And secondly, how elusive the sharks are. He's lucky he was able to spot it, that it came up and bumped him and not just bit him, and then it went off and he was able to keep his eye on it and come back in. That's very difficult to do. They're very easy to lose track of. They don't have to go very far from you to get out of sight and a lot of visibility, and once that happens, you don't know where they're going to come from. So very good on Tyler to keep his eye on it and to swim back to shore backwards to make sure he doesn't get hit. But here, McQuillen says researcher told him the shark was not looking for food. Instead, it was being territorial. And they should have ended the sentence right there. Whoever these researchers are, it's a good thing they don't say who they are. Because it says it was being territorial and confused him with another shark. I kid you not. Researchers told this kid that he was confused for a shark. I've heard it all now. That's just kind of funny to me. So that's the bad. I mean, it's not real bad, and there's more good in these research stories as far as from the experts that are in these stories than are in most of them. So that's the bad of it, and we'll get into ugly shortly. But that's the attack on Tyler McQuillen. I just figured I would tell you, some of these researchers are telling people what they need to tell them, and other ones are just a shark. We're going to head over to Hapuna Beach, and that is in Hawaii, and the date is March 18th of 2015. Ken Grasing, he is 58 years old, and he is with his family, and he is doing some snorkeling. They're only 20 yards from shore. They're in 4 to 5 feet deep water, and like I said, it's probably sometime around 11:30 because authorities are notified by 11:45. He's out there and he's snorkeling, and he says that he sees a dark cloud. So a dark cloud in the water, which he says soon materialized into a 12-foot shark. And he could see the shark was coming for him, and there was nothing he was going to do to get out of the way. And he had heard that hitting a shark in the mouth actually will fend off a shark. But he says it's awfully hard to hit a shark in the mouth without getting their teeth, which is true. Most of its teeth, especially on a tiger shark. Great white, you got a lot of nose you can hit, but a tiger shark, those teeth are pretty close to the front of that snout because it's rounded, and the teeth are rounded, so it's all closer together. Very hard to hit the snout as compared to this. And he says that when the shark got to him, instead he punched it in the side. I believe it was with his left arm. He punched it in the side of the head. But shark swam a little bit away from him, and he noticed he was bitten in the other arm. So his other arm is bleeding, and now he's standing in the water, like I said, 4 to 5 feet of water. He's screaming to people because the shark is circling him now. And he's worried about the shark going after his kids. And his kids are in the water with him. He's worried about something happening there. Bystanders go into the water and they get him to shore. He goes in and gets his arm repaired. They said it turned out to be about a 12-foot tiger shark that grabbed a hold of him, bit him in the arm when it was swimming by, and the circling afterwards. He's lucky that thing didn't come back in on him. So I don't know that tiger sharks are real big on territorial attacks. You don't see something that, you would consider a territorial attack. They just seem like they want to bite. But him swimming around there afterwards 3 times, that's what worries you. If you're bit by a great white and it starts circling, that's time to worry. Good thing that it didn't happen with this tiger shark, and it decided not to go after him. Most likely the people got in the water and deterred the shark from going in any further on an attack. So I'm going to have to put this down as an attack, not an attempt to predate, by about a 12-foot tiger shark that got a hold of Mr. Ken Grasing, 58 years old, and we will move on. We're going to head over to Lighthouse Beach, which is over in New South Wales, Australia, and the date is July 2nd of 2015. Matt Lee, he is 32 years old. He is out doing some bodyboarding with a couple of friends. It's either 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the morning. There seems to be some confusion of what time the attack actually occurred. And all that's known is he was out in the water, laying on his board, so they were probably waiting on waves, and the shark came up to Matt and bit him in his legs, in both of his legs. A surfer was in the water nearby, and he paddled in as fast as he could to try to help. His mate tried to went over to get Matt out of the water too, along with the two friends. They all get him back in and out of the water, and he has extensive damage to his lower legs, and the left leg in particular. And this is the part of the ugly. There's the good, the bad, and this is the ugly. If you wish, you could go ahead and Google Matt Lee shark attack, and it would be the Daily Mail's. It was the Daily Mail that I went ahead and clicked on. I always go to the Daily Mail. Number one, you got to take everything with a grain of salt, but number two, you're going to get the best pictures of attacks from the Daily Mail. And that's the case here, and it's a side view of Matt laying in the bed. And this is one of the worst bites I've seen. Now, the researchers here say it was a 13-foot great white shark that they think went ahead and did this. The area is known for bull sharks, but what it looks like is a tiger shark kind of shape of a bite. And I think they mentioned that in the picture on the Daily Mail, is that the picture of the wound looks like a tiger shark shape more than a great white. But anyway, to get into what you see when you get into that, it took his whole knee. His whole kneecap is gone. The leg is still there by just a little bit in the back. And I've seen destroyed hamstrings before, but I've never seen this to where the kneecap and everything is completely gone. And it's a brutal looking picture. So like I said, that's the ugly of the thing. You know, he needed extensive surgery just to save his life, and you know, they had to do some work to save his life, let alone his legs. And I don't know that they could save that left leg. I didn't get as much damage on a report on the damage to the right leg, and it's hidden underneath the left leg in the photo, so you can't really see the damage there. Hopefully it was just some teeth that get on there, but the good thing is Matt survived the attack. It's just a brutal attack. This went ahead and put everybody into shock that was on the beach. They talked about, I think I'm going to put in the clip that I'm going to put on there, that they talk about how the surfers, even there, they kind of shied away from going in the water for a while because this one freaked them out pretty bad. So it's a brutal attack. It's a brutal wound on Matt Lee, and luckily he survives the attack. We'll move on. Okay, now we're going to head over to Mazatlan, which is over in Mexico, and the date on this is sometime in April in 1980. Kim Giambalvo, she was out doing some body surfing, so she didn't have a board. She was just out, and she was on waves, and she was taking them in. She's out 30 yards from shore. It's in the early afternoon, and she's in 5 feet deep water. Now she's waiting for a wave, so she's standing there, probably treading. She's only 13, so maybe treading water. There's another boy that's close by, and she was kind of talking to him at the time. And he might have taken a wave in because he was a little ways away, but she ends up feeling a pain on, I believe, her right calf. And she said that as soon as she felt that, she thought it was a shark, so she kind of laid flat on the surface, kind of on your back, how you float, worried that she would make movements and attract another attack by the shark. And she said she lost track of time, but it seemed like probably just a few seconds went by of her doing that. Then she worried about the shark coming back. So then she started heading in, and she screamed to the boy, "Hey, I've been bitten by a shark." He didn't believe her, so she lifted her leg up out of the water, but he was too far away to even see the blood. So he didn't realize that she was actually bit until she got closer into shore. She gets in, and she ends up with a wound to her knee and to her calf. And the deepest part of the bite ends up being like a 3-inch or 4-inch long deep wound into the calf. It sounds like it's in the front of the calf. And that ended up being her long-term scar. There's just a little bit of the curve on the calf of the bite, and she actually had the bite to the knee and the calf. Sounds like there was more than one bite, but they're not sure. At least one of the stories I went through said that they didn't know if it was one bite or two, and the leg was flexed at the time of the bite. So she goes in and she ends up getting fixed up. She survives the attack. Didn't hear of any nerve damage or any, it didn't get any arteries, obviously, so she ends up surviving the attack. It's an attack by, they say, a 6-foot tiger shark. So an attack, not an attempt to predate, by a 6-foot tiger shark over in Mazatlan, Mexico. And we'll finish off the show next. Okay, before we get to the end of the show, I just want to say thanks again for sticking around. I wanted to tell you that Ali once again had sent me a story, and I don't know if this was over in Australia, Australia or South Africa, I do believe, but a shark's carcass, a tiger shark, and it looked like an 8 to 10 foot tiger shark. Fishermen obviously caught it and just chopped its head off and threw the carcass not only back into the water but close to shore where people are going to be swimming. You don't want to be throwing carcasses down in there close to shore. That's not a good thing to do. You don't want to attract any kind of predators to that area if people are going to be swimming in that area, or if people dive that area, or if people snorkel that area. That's a dangerous thing to do. Second of all, you can't find something to do with the rest of the shark. I mean, you can't make fertilizer or do something. You can't sell that to anybody. That makes no sense to me. I understand you're cutting the head off to get the teeth, but I would think that you'd find a way to deal with the rest of the shark, at least to try to make some profit off of it. That's what most people do when they fish. So they try to use what they catch, and what they don't catch and they don't want, they toss it back, hopefully in good shape so it can swim away and have a decent life for itself. So, people that are out there catching these sharks and cutting their heads off, if you're going to do that, dump the carcass at least miles offshore. Don't be dumping it close to shore. I wanted to bring that up because it was so stupid, I couldn't believe it. And now I wanted to say that O-Search dinged, and the boat is over there right off of the east coast of the United States. I've never seen it over there pinging like that, but it's pinging right now right off of our coast. So maybe they're out there tagging some more sharks right off the coast here. They sure should be, because they need to find out how many sharks there are now that there's so many pinnipeds up there in the northeast that have dragged them all back over there. I mean, are there more sharks over there than there are in California now? That's a question that needs to be asked. I tell you, they ping up and down that coast, but O-Search isn't tagging anything off of the other coast. And I understand people are tagging sharks all over the place, but if we could find a universal tagging for everybody so that everybody's using the same tags, that'd be a start. Preferably these expensive ones that ping when they're up there on the surface for so long. And 90 seconds, well, you wait 90 seconds to ping. I guess it has to hit a satellite. Otherwise, I would have it ping as soon as it hit the surface and as soon as the satellite could clip it, not a 90-second thing. Because you had that one shark, was it Halley, or it disappeared for like 2 years, and all of a sudden it started pinging again. So they thought that the ping stopped working. So that's just a couple things, and we'll get into the end of the show here. We're going to go over to Tiger Beach, which is in the Bahamas, and this is in July of, what year was this? 2016. And Michael Dornellas, he is it sounds like he does it for a living. He's a photographer underwater. So he's underwater and he's taking photos, and it sounds like he's taking photos of these sharks. And even though it's at Tiger Beach, this is a lemon shark he's taking a photo of. And it's said that this lemon shark is blind in its left eye. And as he's taking a picture of it, the thing comes up and kind of just headbutts him in the camera. It wasn't going to bite him, it just headbutted him. The loss of, if it can't see out of the eye, well, then you're going to lose depth perception and you're not going to be able to see it anyway. So that would make sense. A lemon shark, I don't think is going to be one to be aggressive with you, especially in a diving situation with their, like I said, you get in the water with them when they're used to you be in there and diving with them, and they're a little bit different acting than they are normally if you ran into the shark out in the open and then it decides what to do with you. But an interesting case nonetheless, not an attack, an incident, a bumping. He ended up with a bruised eye, I believe it is, probably from pushing the camera into his head. But like he said, if it's true that shark can't see out of its left eye, then the shark didn't see him as much as he didn't see the shark. So it seems like he didn't even see the shark until it hit him in the camera, which would kind of freak me out. And it was like 9 feet, so that's a big one. That's like the one that pulled that guy off the boat, which I can't wait to cover for a show, which is that one, I believe it was in the backcountry over in Florida, which would be the Gulf side off of the Keys. But I'm not positive exactly where that happened, but or maybe the Everglades, but one or the other. I was surprised it wasn't a bull shark and it was a lemon shark. So we'll get into that one shortly, but that's the other lemon shark that I've seen that was a large lemon that went after somebody. Other than the lemon shark that bit that guy's forearm off. I'll never forget that. I think he was spearfishing. And that's the show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join me in a couple more days for another show. And until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.